bugs out there, and traditional testing. Traditional testing tells us we need to find all the bugs, which we all know is impossible, right? Can't find all the bugs. Can't. Okay, customers have to find something. So, what we want to do is change your mindset about finding bugs. So first of all, I'm going to show you an example of it for me. So everyone sees my beautiful star. It's a little lopsided. If I ask you how many points there are on the star, just think to yourself quickly how many points there are. Okay, so hands up if you say 20. Hands up if you say 10. Hands up if you say 15. Hands up if you said 5. Okay, so the correct answer is 5, so everyone answered everything else. You just became a bug. Okay, you became a bug in my system. So, if I had told you that that top thing is 1 point, and that middle thing with the cross is not considered a point, do you see how I got to 5? Is it crystal clear? Yeah? So that would prevent a whole bunch of bugs right there. Just me being more clear about what I want. Or you asking clarifying questions. So what we aim for, instead of finding bugs, prevent bugs. And the only way to prevent bugs is ask a whole bunch of questions. All the stupid questions. All the obvious questions. All the questions that people are making assumptions on. I can't even tell you how many planning meetings we've been to where it's just one assumption after the other and no one questions them. And then when bugs come rolling in, everyone's very surprised that they're misunderstood. We all communicate differently. And when we say something, it's interpreted in so many different ways. So rather ask questions and get some clarity. This is where I remind you to tell a story about it. We sat in one planning session and the team are asked to do a 6-month report showing an average over 6 months. And they were like, okay, yeah, that's cool, that's a 5. Whatever. And Karen and I are like, but what 6 months are we showing? No, the last 6 months. We're like, so if today's the 25th of June, we're showing from the 25th of January. No, from the 1st of January. Until the 1st of June. From midnight the 1st of January to midnight the 1st of June. Yes. And what is the average? Oh, it's just all those numbers. It's the average. Oh, what numbers? And we were so pedantic about it. And it turns out that this team took on the story of the 5 points.
Without all those questions being answered.
They didn't answer the questions. And the story rolled over for 3 sprints, 3 2-week sprints. Because every time they gave it to their end user, something was wrong. And it all boiled down to how they made that 6-month calculation. So, if you're a tester, if you're a developer, ask the stupid questions. Be that person who prevents the bugs.
Cool, so let's talk about checking. So, most people I know, if they ask to describe testing, can't do it without using the word checking. Well, it's when you check the spec and the system meet. It's when you check that 1 + 1 = 2. So you know what's really good at checking? Computers. You should let computers check stuff like 1 + 1 = 2 for you, because they're really, really, really good at it. You know what they're not good at? Evaluation and feedback. So what you can do is get your computers to do your checking for you and free yourself up to be a tester. And what do we mean by being a tester? We mean using your brain and engaging your brain and thinking about who are your users and what are they trying to achieve with the system, and is the system helping them achieve that? If you know that you've got some tests that are going to check that 1 + 1 = 2, you don't have to spend your time doing that. And once you've been freed up from that, you have a lot more time to do what's often called exploratory testing. Or you can do personas, or hey, you can even go and shadow one of your users for a day and figure out what their jobs are. I once worked at a company and I said to the team, I said, who uses your software? And they went, we don't really know. We think it's someone in the accounting division of telcos. But we don't even know what their job title is. I was like, well, how can you test if the system's going to work for them who don't even know what their job title is. So even if you're not doing TDD, a lot of people who do test-driven development will say that the code that they wrote using TDD is designed differently to code that they try to add the tests afterwards. So even if you're not there yet, if you're not doing TDD, then still think about how you're going to test it first. The most powerful question you can ask in Agile testing on everything is, how can we test it? Because if you consider how you're going to test it before you build it, then chances are you're going to design for testability. And chances are you're going to think about what is the end user expecting to actually accept this. So don't be a checker, let the system check for you and focus on adding your value as a subject matter expert on saying, is this working for the user, providing feedback on how the system is working, and asking how can we test that.
So this is one of my favorite ones, breaking the system. And it's my favorite because I love doing this. Okay? I can break just about anything.
And then she complains on Twitter.
And then I complain on Twitter that I can break it. Yes. So I'm quite proud of my ability to break things. And I'm not unique in this. A lot of testers feel the same way. There's this pride involved with, I broke it. Yeah, it's broken. Fix it. You're useless. And there's this thing, you know, I'm better than you, I can break the system. Yes, I found it. And it usually results in a lot of blame. So testers go, oh, the system's so full of bugs, I don't even know where to start. Developers write crap code. Developers are like, oh, all the testers want to do is break my stuff. They don't even understand how to use it. Maybe they should learn to use the system before they test it, then they can test it properly. And that's not really what's best for the company or the product. So what's better is working together to help build the best system. So instead of trying to break the system, sit together with your developers, figure out what the system's going to be, so that together you can build the right system, and a system without bugs. If you prevent them beforehand, then there won't be any. So is this your most...
Yeah. So I worked a long time ago for a company called Satmarine Computer Services. We delivered software to Maersk Line, one of the big shipping companies. And I vividly remember a conversation with our client who said, we're not going to share the UAT test cases with you because you might just build a system that will make them pass. And at the time it made a lot of sense. Well, of course, they need to be able to catch us out, otherwise they're not getting their money's worth in that UAT dev bug fixing phase that I'm charging them a lot of money for. So, but that's really it. Figure out how you're going to accept if the system's working, and talk about before you write the code, and chances are you'll have less bugs because everybody knows what you're building and why you're building it that way.
A lot of people think of testers as, they're going to catch everything that the devs miss. And so therefore you must keep them separate from the devs, because otherwise they'll get infected. And they'll only test what the devs want.
They'll start thinking like developers, and we don't want that.
Yeah, that's not the right way to go.
Cool. So let's talk about testers being responsible for quality. I remember being a tester. I remember being, in fact, I was proud of this. I worked at Microsoft, and I was really proud that it was the test team that got to say if we shipped the product. That was awesome. They were a revolutionary organization because the testers got to say if it was good enough. A lot of teams that still happens, right? And then the tester's like, it's really not ready. There's a whole bunch of bugs, and then the product team says,
well, printing team for Microsoft. So
I don't know anything about it anymore. It's a long time ago. But then the devs are like, well, we have to ship it, so let's just ship it. And then there's a whole blame game about, well, I didn't say it was ready. Should it have been ready? I don't know. Testers don't add quality in afterwards in this magical phase. It's called testing. All they do is provide feedback on where we are. So what are we saying instead of testers going, yes, no, you passed this gate or not? We're saying the whole team takes responsibility. We're all working together to build the best system possible, then we should all make the decision on, is this thing, we've got feedback from testing on what the state of it is. We know from our automated tests what's working and what's not working. We've had our customers involved in giving us feedback. Given all of that information, do we feel this is ready to ship or not? And it should become a team decision. And once that becomes a team decision, you start thinking about all the quality activities that you do throughout the sprint. coming up with the test cases, asking those questions in the sprint planning, asking the stupid questions about which 6-month report is it that you really wanted. That becomes the team's responsibility.